topic keys in relational databases. So for that we will start with what is a key first. Can anybody tell me what is a key? Okay. See, a key is basically an attribute of a table that uniquely identify a row or a record in a table. So these are the most important point about a key. Firstly, it is an attribute of a table. Now what is an attribute? Attribute is something that defines data about the relation or the table, right? So second thing is it is uniquely identifying a row or a record in a table. So third thing is it is used to establish and identify relationships among entities or tables. Now we will understand this through an example. See, what are entities? Entities are something about which we can have some information or some attributes. For example, we have an entity called student. Now see, this is student is an entity which have got some information about it. So what is the information about this entity? A student may have an ID, he may have a name, he may have an address, he may add a course. So all these are attributes of the entity student, right? Similarly, another example we can take as person entity. Person entity, it has name, DOB, passport number, license number, SSN number as the attributes, right? Now, we have to identify which is the key. So I have told you there are two conditions to identify a key. First one, it should be an attribute of the table. Second, it should uniquely identify the row or the record. So we will see now here where these properties are held by which attribute. So you can see we can have only one ID for a student. No student can have multiple IDs and no ID can be used for multiple students. I will take an example. Suppose this is a student table. Suppose this is a student table. I have got these attributes: ID, name, address, and course. I give some arbitrary values to these. Suppose I take a ID 2, 1, 2, 3. Name suppose table, right? Here the name of the table or the student or the relation is student. Here we have four attributes: ID, name, address, and course. So this is Uttarakhand. I am writing like this, right? So you can see Ashi, if I call roll number 1, Ashi will be pointed out. If I call roll number 2, Anna will be pointed out. If I call roll number 3, Rekha will be called, right? So you can see a number ID is identifying a single row uniquely. Can we have this thing Obama 1, Rama, Delhi, and CSC? Is it possible for us? Have you seen two persons having same roll number or same ID? No, that is not possible. So that means this is wrong. We have to delete this or we have to omit this. So this is now 1, 2, 3. These are unique values for the ID, student ID, which are uniquely identifying the each row, right? So we can consider this as a key. Key generally means primary key. So here we are having the properties that are I have told you. So this is a key. Similarly, in the person table, we can have unique passport number for each person. We can have unique license number for each person. We can have unique SSN number for each person. So we can declare all these things as keys. That means passport number is also can be a key, license number can also be a key, and SSN can also be a key. Right? So I hope the concept of key is clear to you. So proceeding further, now I will tell you what are the different types of keys in a database. So there are generally 6 types, or we can say broadly there are 6 types of keys in a database management system. First one is the candidate key, second is the primary key, third is the super key, fourth is alternate key, fifth is foreign key, and sixth is composite key. So all these are the broad terms that are used for different types of keys. We will see each key one after another. So for the primary key, it uniquely identifies, I will rub this. See, first is uniquely identify every record or row of an entity. So this key or a primary key, it uniquely identify every row and record of the key of the entity. And you know that there can be only one primary key for a table or a relation. That means we can have only one primary key, that is only one attribute can be chosen as primary key, right? Next point about primary key, it has to be chosen by database administrator. As you know that there can be multiple keys that can be made as primary key, like in person we saw. I will show you again. In this person, we can have passport number, license number, SSN number. All these can be considered as a primary key, but the DB or the database administrator is chosen passport number, suppose, as the primary key. We can choose only one key as a primary key. We cannot have multiple primary keys in a single table. So going back to the slide, so this is chosen by the database administrator and it should be unique for each and every row, and most important thing is cannot have a null value. That means if we are making our attribute as a primary key, there should be some value for that. It should not be null or empty, right? So here in this example, employee is the entity and we are having employee ID as the primary key. Other attributes are employee name, employee address, passport number, license number and SSN. So as I have told you, these can be also primary key, but we haven't chosen these as a primary key. We have chosen only employee ID as a primary key. So these are not the primary keys because we haven't chosen, though they have the properties to become a primary key, right? So moving further, this is an example of a primary key again. In the student table, we are having roll number as a primary key. These are the values: roll number, name, address and phone. These are the attributes and these are the values to these attributes. We are having roll number 1, 2, 3. These are the names, addresses and phone numbers, right? In the ER diagram, we have to represent a primary key with underlying it. So we are underlying this roll number, that means we have made it as a primary key. Now next is candidate key. This is a very important key. You should know that it could be an attribute or it could be a set of attributes that can uniquely identify a tuple, right? So you will wonder that what is the difference between a primary key and a candidate key, because both are uniquely identifying a tuple. I will tell you this difference later. First we will see the points about candidate key. A table can have more than one candidate key. So you can have one candidate key or maybe more than one candidate key for a table. Next point is it must contain unique values. Like primary key, it must have unique values only. We cannot repeat the value of a candidate key, right? But difference is that it can have a null value. A candidate key can have a null value unlike a primary key. So another point is it can qualify to become a primary key. So as I have told you, a candidate key have all the properties like a primary key, but it is up to the DBA to choose it as a primary key or not it, right? So now every primary key is a candidate key, but every candidate key cannot be a primary key. It may be a primary key or may not be, right? So this is the thing again you have to keep in mind. Every primary key is a candidate key because it has all the properties, all these properties it has. But a candidate key cannot always be a primary key. Why? Because we are saying here that it can have a null value. So in case a candidate key is having a null value, we cannot choose it as a primary key, right? So this is the example. Candidate key in the student table was roll number and phone because both were having unique values, right? They were uniquely identifying the rows, right? Now we have chosen this roll number as the primary key, so this will be the primary key and both will be the candidate keys. I can tell you that how to choose a candidate key and how to choose a primary key. Suppose now elections are going on, right? So what happens? In elections, there are several candidates who are pursuing to become a MLA, right? But all of them cannot become MLA, right? So, but all the candidates have all the capabilities to become a MLA, but only one will be chosen as MLA. Similarly, in this concept, all the keys that can be chosen as primary key are there. They are called as candidate keys, but only one that is appointed or that which is chosen by the DBA as a primary key will be declared as a primary key, right? Rest all will remain candidate keys. Now next is super key. Now as you see, the supermarket consists of lot many things along with your needs, right? So similarly, like keys, in super keys what happens? When a set of attributes can identify all attributes of a tuple, it is known as a super key. So no wonder you can say that roll number also identify the rows uniquely, so it can be a super key. If we attach any value, any attribute with roll number, it will also become a super key. You can see here, if I attach roll number with name, this is also a super key. If I attach roll number with phone, it is also a super key. So this way we can have all the super keys combining with the primary key. We can have multiple super keys for a table, right? So a super key is a group of single or multiple attributes that identifies a table. So it's a group of single or multiple attributes. We can have a single and this is multiple attributes that identifies the rows uniquely. So another thing about this is super key that it supports null values also, right? Adding 0 or more attributes to the candidate key generates a super key. So how to get a super key is if we add a more attribute, maybe 0 or maybe more attributes to the candidate key, it will become the super key, right? Next point is a candidate key is a super key, but a vice versa is not true. So a candidate key can be chosen, can be a super key, but all super keys cannot be candidate keys because it may contain null values also and or may not identifying the things, right? So moving towards the next slide. Now this is the relation between all three keys I have discussed till now. Super key is the mother of all the keys. Super key has candidate key inside and candidate key has primary key inside. So we can know that all these three keys are for identifying the rows uniquely, but this is restricted because it cannot have null value and it is only chosen by the DBA. Now after that, you can see the super key. Out of super key, we can find a candidate key, and among the various candidate key, we have to choose only one primary key. So this is represented in the form of diagram. You can see the relation between all these three keys, right? Now what is alternate key? Alternate is option for others. You know, when we say this person is alternate for this, that means that person will work in place of the first person, right? So similarly, candidate keys other than the primary key can be called as alternate keys, right? All the keys which are not primary keys are alternate keys. For example, in the example, this one, if you are having here phone also, you know phone numbers are unique for all the candidates. Yes or no? Yes. Phone numbers are different for each person. So we can consider that as a candidate key. Now we have chosen ID as the primary key. So alternate key will be the phone, because it's a candidate key, but we are not choosing it as the primary key. So it can be called as an alternate key. So one thing you can notice, alternate key is candidate key minus primary key. So this is the relation you should see while identifying alternate key, candidate key and primary key. Now example of all the three keys together. See, this is the example: student ID, roll number, first name, last name, email. Right? Now, which can be the candidate key? Well, first you will see what are the candidate key here. So, you can have unique ID, student ID. Yes, we can have different student ID for each person. Next is, so it can be a candidate key. Next, roll number is also unique for each student. So this can be also a candidate key, right? First name may or may not be common. Sometimes we can have two students with the same name. So we cannot consider it as a candidate key because it is not uniquely identified, right? Similarly, we can have multiple people having same last names. So we cannot choose that as a candidate key. Now next is fifth one is email. So every person is having a different email, unique email. So we can consider it as a candidate key. So here there are three candidate keys: student ID, roll number and email. Now suppose the DBA chooses the student ID as the primary key. This is the primary key. So what will the alternate key? I have told you that alternate key is equal to candidate key minus primary key, right? So it will be here, alternate key will be roll number and email. These are the alternate keys, right? So I have declared it. This is the roll number, this is the email, these are the alternate keys. So I hope this is clear to you. Next is foreign key. This is again a very important key regarding DBMS. So foreign key is a key that acts as a primary key in one table and as a normal key or a secondary key in the other table, right? So basic purpose of this key is to combine two or more relations at a time. It acts as a cross-reference between tables, right? So, for example, ID is a primary key in the student details table and a non-key in student marks table. So I will show this to you. Foreign key can be null. Foreign key can have repeated values in other table. So these are all points about foreign key. I will give you an example of this. Now you can see this is the primary key here. This is a table of student details. This is a table of student marks. Here we are having ID as the primary key for student details. We are having same attribute here in the second table, student mark, where it is acting as a foreign key, right? So this attribute is connecting both the tables through the foreign key, right? Now next is this composite key. This is the key which acts as a primary key when there is no primary key available in the database, right? Here we can combine two or more attributes to act as a primary key, right? That will make as a composite key. Now if we combine different attributes in different label, they will give a different accuracy in terms of identifying the rows uniquely. It can also give duplicate values in rare cases. For example, name and DOB can be combined to access the details of student. Suppose this is a table and here we are missing this. There is no ID and we are having added DOB, right? So DOB and this column can become the composite key, right? So that's all for today. Rest we will do in the next lecture. Thank you.